Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. I am Vanessa.
And I'm Ariel Williams.
And we are going to just share with you what we gained from the service today. It was a phenomenal service. The worship was off the chain today. I did the prayer, of course. So we thank God for prayer.
Amen.
that set the tone for the service. And then we thank God for the worship that just really just swept us on in.
Yeah.
Brother Kevin, always just go in. He go in. So what are your thoughts on worship this morning?
Oh my gosh, worship today was just so pure. It just felt so genuine. As the songs were going forth, I just felt a change within my own self. Because whenever I'm worshiping, I'm always just kind of like, okay, God, cleanse my heart, cleanse my hands, purify me, God. But today it just felt so natural. Like I felt like I didn't have to do so much to like get in the swing of things. I was just able to like jump right in. It just felt so free today.
Amen. And I love that when we go into worship. Worship is really an audience of one, because even when we are corporately worshiping, it's still about you getting in the presence of God. And I love that. I love what the worship team ablaze, what they bring every Sunday. They come with their A game. Sometimes it's up there more so than we are, but it was good today.
Yes.
So let's talk about our word today. The word going for the jugular came from Pastor Cobie's message. This new series for this month, Matters of the Heart.
Yeah.
This is going to be a phenomenal month of matters of the heart, dealing with the internal part of us that God is reaching for. God is pulling the inward part of us out so that He can get in. Amen.
Yes.
So, and today, can we have some thoughts on what was your takeaway from the message today?
Oh, absolutely. My biggest takeaway was just to self-reflect. Anything that's in my heart, because sometimes we have things kind of brewing. We don't even really realize it until somebody brings it up, and it's like, wait a minute, that kind of still hurts. Some things that I thought I was healed from, it wasn't until another situation arose, and I was like, you know what? I'm not over that yet. And so today, what I got from it was just self-examine. Examine thine own ways. Because it's like we like to look at everything and everyone around us. But for me personally, I just want to be right with God. So this was one of those get right messages for me. That's what this was for me. Yes.
Amen. And I agree with that, because sometimes we have been hurt. We've been damaged by family situation, by mother wounds and daddy wounds. Mama wasn't there. I always tell people now, and I'm not making light of any of the wounds, any of the hurts, but now that you're an adult, go buy your own red wagon, okay?
Yes.
Your mama didn't buy you a red wagon for Christmas that year. Daddy didn't show up. Well, now you're a parent. Now you want to be a better parent. And that was one of the things I said about my children. I want to be a better parent than my parents were.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't good parents, but their parenting, God took parenting to another level. And then as I see my children who are grown and adults now, they've taken my parenting to another level.
Yes.
And I came from an era where what we said is what you do. You didn't question the authority in the house. If they said do this, you couldn't go nowhere. You didn't question why.
Right.
Now
it's more loud.
Yes. And so I purpose that I would raise my children where we had dialogue.
Yes.
It wasn't just a monologue. It was, they can talk. We can talk and we can share. And I can know what's on their heart, so I would know how to pray. Because that's when you talk with them openly. They share things that they normally wouldn't share. So then that way you know how to pray. And that's how. But so we saw in the message, in the word today, how God said everything out. He laid it all out. So there's no excuses now.
Right.
There's no excuses for me to walk in offense.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been offended?
Oh, yeah.
And how did you overcome offense?
Well, honestly, with me overcoming offense, I really, really just had to realize that people only understand where they are, and so it's like I'm waiting on somebody to feel where I'm coming from, but they are where they are. And I think that it's just that that level, that courageous level of acceptance that listen, they are where they are. Now, if you choose to try and like force them to get out of where they are,
Right.
that could take forever. And that's your choice. That's your prerogative if you're going to wait around, because you don't know, flowers bloom at different rates. You don't know where they are, you know, and you don't know how long it's going to take them to move from where they are. And so for me, it was just being able to have the will to say, you know what, Ariel, they are where they are. Now, it's up to you to control where you're going.
Right.
And so if you want to sit in this stale place, if you want to sit in this dry place, in this bitter place, then do that.
Amen.
But if you want to cross over to what God has for you, we got to do something different.
Yes.
We got to do something different. And it's easier said than done now. It's easier said than done. But what I always tell my family is it's daily. You know, it's every day. It's like I look at growth as like a stairwell. Like I'm one step at a time. You know, it's like Monday I'm real weak, and then the next thing I know I'm at Tuesday, I'm at Wednesday, and then it's weeks are coming along, and it's like I'm getting better at this, and then I start healing. But if I never start, then I'm never gonna, you know, I'm never gonna heal.
That's good. And something that I've learned about offense, it's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
You know, I hear people say, well, you know, I don't know why they're talking to me like that. I don't know why this is happening to me. I do everything right. I treat people right. But, you know, none of us, the word said today, Pastor said in his message, none of us are exempt from offense.
Oh yeah.
It's just how we respond.
Right.
You know, we can go in with them,
Right.
and go tit for tat, but God is looking for something different when we are offended. He's looking for, I always say, he's looking for himself in us. He's
Yes.
always looking for himself. What part of him is he trying to grow me up in right now? And what part of me that's refusing to grow?
Yes.
I remember a book I read some years ago. Some folks were in music ministry, and they were going and playing music for someone that was really sick, and the Lord spoke and said, you know, they're holding unforgiveness, and if they let it go, they can be healed.
Wow.
And the people wouldn't the lady wouldn't release it. Wow. She wouldn't release. So we get to choose.
Yeah.
We gotta
absolutely.
open. There's always a choice in every decision. There's a choice. There's consequences.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's a choice of, you know what? Do I want God?
Yeah.
Perfect will for me, or do I want what I want?
Right.
And I like what Pastor said. It's not about a feeling. Forgiveness is not a feeling.
Right.
You know, we have to be willing. And you're right. It does take time, because you'll remember it like it happened yesterday. If something happened 20 years ago, and I'm remembering the hurt of it.
Right.
Now, I can remember it and use it as a teaching tool, because that's what I do with all of the disappointments and hurts. I use it as a stepping stone.
Right.
It's a stepping stone to my next. So if it's still, I'm feeling the same exact pain that I felt 20 years ago, 5 years ago, then I'm not healed.
Right.
I can on the outward, I might look and say, oh, I'm all right.
Right.
But inwardly, when I'm by myself, you can't get away from yourself.
Exactly.
So wherever yourself is, that's, you know, you can't get away from you.
Yeah.
So you will have to confront you one day. You're going to have to confront,
That's true.
you know, that hurt, that past, that, in order for you to go forth, because God won't have us to go forth and being able to spew that vow, that you know, that's ugly. It's the ugly spirit.
Oh yeah,
it's ugly, and we'll send it out on other people.
Right.
We're praying for them to be healed or delivered, and we need deliverance.
Yep.
That's a sad place.
That is. I agree. I totally agree. I mean, that was so good, but it's just a matter of really. I always refer everything back to the self-work. And I think that when a person is really working on themselves, and it's not to say that, oh, you know, you're going to be this perfect person and you're just everyone's model figure.
Right.
But when you're really working on yourself, I just feel like it shows.
Amen.
It really
Amen.
shows.
Absolutely.
And the more you work on yourself, and when you're intentional about working on yourself, like you do this every day, when those offenses come, because they are inevitable, they will come. But when they come, your response is just a little bit better.
Amen.
You know,
Amen.
your response is, and I think that if we could just, as believers, get into the swing of being for God every day.
Right.
When
right.
these problems arise and when these offenses arise and when my neighbor offends me or somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm just not so quick to just react to everything. But I know how to
Right.
respond because I've been intentional all week long.
Right.
I've been in
Right.
prayer.
Absolutely.
I'm in
Ooh,
my
that's
word,
good.
you know,
That's
even
good.
even just our daily conversations,
Right,
like how
right.
we just talk to people, you know, like it's so easy for me to say, I'm sorry, I did that wrong.
Right,
Like
right.
it takes me nothing. You can ask my husband, like, Lord, you see me. It takes me nothing. I have gotten to a place where I'm just like, you know what? My bad. I could have did that differently because I
Right,
know
right,
me,
right.
and I think that comes. I think it's the book of James where it says the mature saints through by
Right.
the practicing. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you just practice this stuff, everything that he gave us today, it was so practical.
It's practical,
It was
yes,
so
yes.
practical. It's like when you do this stuff every day, it becomes a part of you, and that way when those weapons form, I think that's what it means when it says no weapon form will prosper because the saints are walking with God.
Right, right.
You know, and I love that verse where it says Adam walked with God in the cool of the day. You know, it just lets us know
Every
that
day.
it was just regular. It was just a regular moment, but that was his choice. That was
Right,
what he
right,
was doing
right.
in the cool of the day. And I think that when we get into the swing of just being with God for real, that it's like, okay, you offended me, you know, and it's like, it still stings a little bit, but it's just like, it's way different. Like the believer's response is different. You know, it really hits different.
Yes. And we're going to go through all of the same things that all of the word speaks of, all of the different nuances of life.
Oh, yeah.
Life is happening on our jobs. We've been misunderstood. We're
Right.
going to be misjudged, not liked, talked
Oh, yeah.
about, all of that, lied on.
Yeah.
What are we going to do when we lied on? You know,
Yep.
are we going to be offended and cry, oh, they talked about me?
Right,
No,
right.
our response should be, we should. Now that's what it should.
Right.
But like you said, something you said is it's a daily thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it is not a one thing and then I got it. No. It's going to keep coming around, and then you're going to be able to. You'll look back and say, when did I get over here?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
I hadn't got past that because I practiced. I made a point of every day fellowship with God, communing with God, listening to God.
Yeah.
And even when I didn't agree with God, because
Yeah.
sometimes I don't agree with what
Yeah,
God
me too.
says.
Yeah.
I have to, okay, God, I ain't feeling this right now.
Yep. Right? Just out of obedience.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but I'm gonna go this way because you said so. But I don't, and just being honest with God and the
yeah.
process that He has us
yeah.
in. And this is all about a process. Even going for the jugular, understanding who your enemy is. That my sister, you're not my enemy.
Right.
And when you say something, if you say something to me that might catch me on the day that I'm not there, and I'm like, oh, she said that hurt. Why did she say? And not realizing that you're still my sister.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't. Well, I ain't talking to her no more.
Yeah, don't
'Cause
write
that's-
me off.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Sometimes we'll not talk to anybody,
Yeah, that's true.
and not go and say like the word say. Go to my sister. Find out where was she coming from that came that way, so that I'm looking cross-eyed at her now and won't speak. And every time I see her, I'll go the opposite way. We can't do that. That's not the way. I have to love you, and this is what God gave me. He said this to me, the grace that you got to display the same grace to others that I've displayed to you.
Amen.
So He's given me grace.
Yeah.
He's given me the grace to be forgiven, to be loved, to be, to be an overcomer. So that same grace that He extended, that's what it was. I've extended to you the same. You extend to others the same grace that I've extended to you.
Yes.
So that way, I'm always looking at you through the lens of Christ. I'm not looking at, but sometimes I'm not. Now, sometimes, it hurt.
Yeah,
That person hurt. That person hurt. That boss hurt. But if we look at each other through the lens of Christ and in the same grace that He extended to us, then we're able to extend it to someone else.
Oh, absolutely. And I totally agree, because it's just one of those things where it's like, I think that always remembering like our beginning stages.
Right.
Because sometimes, when you walk with God X amount of years, you start to feel like you're so above things. And you forget that there was once upon a time where the church mother had to pull you to the side and say, hey, not that dress.
Right.
Not that dress. That's not it. And it's like sometimes we grow so above our years where it's like, don't forget You know,
Right.
like that same person that may be offended, because we don't know people's hearts.
Right,
Because you may
right.
have somebody, just because they offended you. I love how Pastor has said something that was so powerful that really blessed my life. He said, God doesn't love your enemy any less, or the person you're
Right.
deeming to be your enemy any
Right,
less than
right.
he loves you. So you might be walking around like, oh, you know, God gonna get him. And it's like, meanwhile, you don't know that person's heart. You don't know
Right,
how that person is
right.
crying out to God. They may just have not mustered up the courage to apologize to you. But you don't know how they're going before God. So
Right.
be careful with that.
Right.
And so I think once we
Absolutely.
get to the point where we're able to realize, you know what? You haven't always been saved. You haven't always, and even when
Amen.
you got saved, you still had some areas. There were
Yep.
still some things that somebody had to teach you and help
Right,
you with. And I
right.
think that gives us a little bit more patience with people.
Yes.
And that makes it easier for us to say, you know what? You did that, but I remember when I used to do things like that. So you know what? I'm gonna pray for you, because I
Right.
know what it's like to be in that pit. I know what it's like to not be able to say I'm wrong.
Right,
To
right.
harbor over unforgiveness and be sitting up all hours of the night talking to your husband. Well, you thought I was wrong. Well, what I did wrong. Well, why you think? Really, you agree with her? And
Right,
I know
right.
how binding that
Right.
is, and so it becomes easier to say, you know
Right.
what? I got it. You know, I'ma forgive.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.